I'm Nicole Nalepa, and you're listening to Mommyhood Unscripted, real talk about moms for moms.
Hey everyone, so glad you're here. Quick little episode, and this is for all of you parents and caregivers, teachers, educators out there, therapists perhaps. It's a wonderful show that was just released. It was a special by PBS Kids. The Emmy-winning puppet series Donkey Hodie basically is welcoming friends from the Emmy-winning Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. It's a new half-hour crossover special from Fred Rogers Production and Spiffy Pictures. This is an amazing opportunity. This is carrying on the legacy of Fred Rogers as well from, of course, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. This is just another iteration of how everything Fred Rogers did is living on. And it's something that you and your kids can watch together. Again, teachers can play as well because of the lessons that unfold in this special half-hour adventure. Daniel Tiger Visits Someplace Else is the name of it. It premiered on August 11th, 2025, so it's now available out there. And it's wonderful because there's a lot of lessons that are rolled into it about for transitions, right? So meeting new friends, going to new places. So it's pretty pertinent, I would say, with back to school time of year for sure, but honestly, it's applicable year round. In this episode, we are speaking with co-executive producer of Donkey Hodie, Kristin DiQuollo, and supervising producer of Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, Chris Loggins. What an amazing job that they have, and we had an amazing conversation with them, so I hope you enjoy it.
We have a very exciting new visitor on Don Quixote to someplace else. Daniel Tiger and his dad Tiger, come to visit Don Quixote and her Grampy Hodie in someplace else to help Grampy fix the clock. And in the process, Daniel and Donkey go off on an adventure. Daniel makes and meets lots of new friends, and Donkey and Daniel become friends themselves.
So this is a big collaboration, right?
Yes, 100%.
And just the legacy of Fred Rogers coming to life through this special.
Fred Rogers once said, when asked, how he would think about the series continuing after him, he said, when it comes to creativity, the sky's the limit. So I like to think we're carrying on that creative legacy in both shows, but also honoring all the important life lessons that he addressed in his series. And now with this crossover, it's just a lot of fun. And like you said, we on the Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood team were involved at every stage of the process, from the very beginnings when this idea, started circulating, even in the office between Kristin and me and Ellen, our chief creative officer. And it's been a really rewarding experience to see Daniel come from this animated world. Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood premiered in 2012. What was that, 13, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
And so I've spent a lot of time with Daniel on the screen in an animated form. So to get to see him in person and be in a physical space with little Daniel Tiger was really nice for me, and actually got to give him a little snuggle on set because I was there, when the team was filming this episode. So that was really cool.
So it's almost like a great way to introduce our kids to what we once grew up on, it feels like.
When the team was thinking about potentially recreating more characters based on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and got to the idea of Don Quixote, that led to the idea of big dreams and impossible dreams, of course, because of the pun of Don Quixote. And then a show about resilience and perseverance. And then as the team was brainstorming that, it came to the idea that it could be a puppet series because puppets have a great way of expressing big feelings because they're tangible, they're fuzzy, they're huggable. And it was also a wonderful way to nod back to the original Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and have characters in a puppet series once again.
And I'll just add, like, at the beginning, we did have a moment of like, so how's this going to work? Daniel's animated, he's going into the puppet world. But, now that we've seen it, and the episode is out there, nobody blinks an eye at it because the team did such a great job of translating animated Daniel Tiger into this world of someplace else. And it just looks so beautiful.
To make that transition from Daniel heading into Don Quixote's puppet world, is Trolley, right? Is it Trolley that takes Daniel somewhere else?
Yes, exactly. Trolley, when back in season 2 of Donkey, we started introducing characters that bridged all three series, that bridged Mr. Rogers, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, and Donkey Hodie. So we introduced Trolley and built a full-scale ride-along trolley. Our puppeteers are actually riding on that trolley with their hands above their heads.
Wow.
We introduced that trolley in season 2, and trolley, of course, bridges all three series. We have the cobblestone path that bridges all three series. We introduced speedy delivery. We have a speedy delivery turtle and someplace else. So yes, it felt really natural that Daniel and Dad would come through the tunnel and into someplace else on trolley to come visit Donkey and Grampy. And we'd like to think that some sort of magic happens in that tunnel, but that takes our characters from one land to another. And it was really important to Chris's point that when Daniel and Dad arrived in someplace else, they felt like the current Daniel and Dad Tiger that audiences know and love right now from the animated series, but that they made sense in the world of Don Quixote.
And can we talk a little bit about like the family tree connection with Don Quixote and with Daniel Tiger? Because Daniel Tiger is technically the son, right, of the original
Yeah.
striped tiger, Daniel, that we all grew up with.
Yes, that's exactly right. So
Okay.
Dad Tiger is Daniel Tiger from the original Mr. Rogers Neighborhood, and he's grown up and has a son of his own who's our new 4-year-old Daniel Tiger that kids today know from Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
And
That's
our Grumpy Hodie is the original Don Quixote from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And
Oh,
our yellow donkey is his granddaughter. So she's a new character. And she now lives in the windmill that Grampy first founded in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Mr. Rogers'
right.
Neighborhood, Don Quixote wanted to build a windmill in the neighborhood to make believe, and King Friday did not like it. He said it was ruining his view. He said, go build your windmill someplace else. And so Don Quixote went and built a windmill someplace else, and that is where our show is set, and that is where our donkey now lives.
Wow. So here's a big question. I couldn't wait to ask you guys this. What is it like to work on these shows? And like, how did your journey take you here? It just seems, I mean, very cliche to say, but just very magical. There's just something so pure, so timeless about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and that whole world that Fred Rogers created. And I mean, to be going to work and to be creating these opportunities and these, snapshots into imagination every day for children around the world, really. What is that like?
It's very special. You use the word magic. I don't think that's ever lost on us. It feels like that every day. We were kids too, or some of us have kids. I remember being a very young person watching television, being a huge fan of the shows that I loved, feeling like the characters that I connected with were my best friends, writing to them in my diary, wishing we could meet someday. The idea that we can make those experiences for kids now, and not only that, not only create these wonderful characters they can connect with, but also build in all of these really important life lessons so that we're helping inspire a new generation of kids to be confident and have can-do attitudes and be resilient. It's really special, and it's great to be able to do it in a place that really respects and honors making quality media for children. And it's been wonderful to have a career in public television, which is a platform that values and prioritizes educational media and media of value to families. So yeah, for me, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible career, and I'm very lucky.
To pick up on Kristen's point about making shows right now that are on PBS Kids, when Fred testified before Congress, he said that what he wanted to do was to create something of value for children and families watching, and I think that's what we're all trying to do every day when we come to work and make these shows. But we have a lot of fun doing it, but we also know the great responsibility that we have and take it very seriously. And I always say that my favorite part of the job is when I get to hear from viewers who watch the show. I'm speaking right now, particularly of Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, telling us like what it means to them and how they use the show in their lives. It never gets old.
What is your background before you started working and doing stuff for PBS Kids?
I have a background working with children and families. In my early career, I knew that that's what I wanted to do was do something that positively impacts the life of kids and families. So I started working with an organization called Beginning with Books, Center for Early Literacy here in Pittsburgh, which was all about getting books and literacy tools to families in the community. I actually got to drive something called the Storymobile there, which is like
Ooh.
you would think a big mobile library, and kids could come on. I'd drive in their neighborhood, they can come on and check out books for free, and I would go all around Pittsburgh. That's how I got to know my way around. And then I started working with the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, um, also in the children's department. But I also have this interest in media and led to working with WQED, the local public television station, which is where Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was filmed for many, many years. Fred Rogers, what was called Fred Rogers Company at the time, was on the second floor. And I just got to know people there at Fred Rogers based on my interest while I was in the building. And long story short, I was offered the chance to come on when Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood was just kind of like going into production. Not a lot of people knew that it was coming yet. And I was able to kind of blend those interests and have been able to grow with the show.
Wow, that's great. What about you, Kristin?
I'm not going to say it happened by accident because I think it all was by design in some way that I didn't quite realize. But
Nothing's an accident, right?
I was always interested in media. I 100% thought I was going to be a journalist coming out of college. I wanted to be a print journalist, write things for magazines or newspapers. And I was in Rhode Island at the time, and I ended up getting a job working for a classroom magazine that published writing by teenagers. And that was my entry into educational media in some form. And I was helping bring all the pieces they had published over the years into this new digital destination. And so that dipped my toe into educational media. From there, I went to work for the IMAX Corporation, working on like marketing educational documentary films for school groups and other things. And that was just like a different kind of media, educational media experience. And when I moved to New York, I started working at WNET, which is the New York Public Television station, and worked on Cyber Chase. And I started there as a project manager. Cyber Chase is an animated math series for kids
Yeah.
on PBS Kids.
Yeah.
I started there as a project manager and left 11 years later as executive producer. And I left that job to come to Pittsburgh and start on Hodie and help get the show off the ground.
I love how both you and Chris's experiences have like come to this moment, right? Like the culmination here of these two worlds coming together for our kids. And before I let you go, what is a big takeaway? What do you hope the audience, will take away from this awesome experience for them to watch?
Just so happens that this special about meeting new friends is premiering right before back to school at a time when kids are getting ready to start in new classrooms, maybe start some new sports, go meet a bunch of new people. And if there's anything that anyone takes away, I hope it's the joy, curiosity, and excitement that both Donkey and Daniel have about meeting a new friend. We offer strategies for things you can do when you meet someone new, which can be a little scary, especially if you're feeling shy. You can ask lots of questions. And by the way, we do craft all of these strategies with child development advisors that we work with. So asking lots of questions to get to know somebody, but also just the joy of discovery. Daniel gets to go on this adventure through someplace else, meet a bunch of new pals, see things he's never seen before. That's all really exciting.
I would just add that I hope people watching have as much fun watching the episode as we had making it. I think it's a really fun episode with a lot of fun songs and music, and hope they watch the episode together and then continue to talk about it even after they've watched.
Everyone can watch it now on PBS Kids Video or on YouTube.
Thank you so much both for your time. I really appreciate it.
If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to Mommyhood Unscripted. Share it with your friends, too. It's available on iTunes, Google Play, Roku, and everywhere else you get your podcast. I'm Nicole Nalepa. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, Mama, you're doing great.